true. It's a political point. It leads to the right. Look directly in the front. All right, welcome back to ColbertRadio.com live.
Can't seem to fool him. I keep trying to catch him off guard.
You will never hit me because the button turns red when you start recording.
Can I try one of those beers?
Are you sure you
all
want to do that?
all the really good stuff. Here's a light one.
No, give me a lime because I'm allergic to beer.
Don't you have to be in bed like an hour?
Oh, I will be.
Yeah, if he gets one of them beers, he will be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Put him right down. All right, so political segment this week. I wrote an op-ed that I turned into John on Keith Olbermann's rant about Scott Brown, that he was an irresponsible, racist, homophobic, sexist,
He's talking about me again.
Reactionary. Yeah, he's talking about all of us.
Percy, I'm really sorry. Who are you talking about? Because I wasn't listening.
Scott, this is what Keith Olbermann was saying
about Scott Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
So if you want to hear that or check that out, I'm going to put that up on my own Ustream. Just search Percy Hugo on Ustream, so that way I don't have to take up our airtime with it. My 2 points today are, first of all, I'd like to commend Rush Limbaugh for being reasonable when he said something that he's being absolutely attacked for in terms of racism by the Jewish Anti-Defamation League. And then I would like to...
I heard about that. Go on.
I would like to talk about Howard Dean and his, I guess you could say, arrogance or just his own inability to admit what's right in front of him.
Well, can you explain to me what was the business about Rush Limbaugh and the Jewish Anti-Defamation League? Because I haven't heard it.
What Rush Limbaugh was implying is that when some people, a lot of what's happening right now is Barack Obama is going after Wall Street. He's going after bankers. And what Rush Limbaugh said was certain people with certain prejudices think that means Jews. Right? And he's
International Cartel of Jewish Bankers. Yeah, I got you.
He specified that this is people with prejudices. So Barack Obama, by their logic, is going after people of the Jewish faith. Now, instantly, this comes back on Rush Limbaugh from the head of the Jewish Anti-Defamation League, or I'm going to call them JADL, and I personally think they should call themselves the Davidic Rabbinical...
JADL, I made you out of clay.
They should call themselves the Davidic Rabbinical Anti-Defamation League, so they could be dreidel. I think that would be a little better for advertising.
That's what's very funny, you little bastard.
Hey, you little bastard.
Let's spin around.
Well, they do seem to spin their tops a lot. But the head of the Jewish Anti-Defamation League comes out and said, Rush Limbaugh was very racist in his comments. Now, I don't care what your stance on Rush Limbaugh is, and John's personal stance is that he's kind of boring and he's in no rush to listen to him.
Yeah, I like Rush fine.
Sure. But he does it for entertainment. But one thing Rush Limbaugh has always been is a staunch supporter of Israel. And one of his best friends is Mark Levin, who is a leading conservative Jewish political pundit and talk show.
Yes, he is.
Rush Limbaugh is not an anti-Semite. Yeah, the great one, Mark Levin.
He doesn't like my brother.
Well, he didn't like your brother until your brother went to Iraq. And then things kind of changed.
He loosened up a little bit?
Yeah, he
definitely
does.
That guy's wound up pretty tight.
He does not look like his voice, though.
Not too loud?
But Rush Limbaugh was not being unreasonable with what he said because he specified that these were people with prejudices and it was not him speaking about himself. So
well, they do that a lot. They'll take him out of context when he's talking about something that somebody else did, and then they'll just cut those parts out. And say, if Rush Limbaugh got up there and said, well, I can't believe that guy actually got up and said, the world's controlled by the International Cartel of Jewish Bankers. Well, they'll cut the first part out and say, and listen to Rush Limbaugh go, the world's controlled by the International Cartel of Jewish Bankers. Right. They do crap like that all the time.
Well, when they hammer him, that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. They do cut and trim. And so to Rush Limbaugh's credit, he was actually being reasonable in his argument. And, a lot of Jewish people have come out in support of what he said, saying Rush Limbaugh is not an anti-Semite. So that's the whole Rush Limbaugh was being reasonable point. Now I got to move on to
because we're funding his show every damn week. There's a reason he's number one, for God's sakes. Go ahead.
I don't know if I can hear
what
the
a
rest of the question.
All
right. The next one, this is coming from blogcritics.org, and the fallout from the Massachusetts race is obviously...
Is this Howard Dean? You might hit Howard Dean?
Oh, yeah.
I saw this. I actually watched it.
You watched it live?
I saw it live when it
happened.
The fallout,
I'll get to it here in a moment. The fallout from the aftermath of the Massachusetts election has been incredible. The Democrats, like we said before, have slammed on the brakes on a lot of their agenda because they know now that they do not have a filibuster-proof minority in the Senate.
Or majority.
Filibuster-proof majority. And the idea was they could get away with anything, and they didn't do it in time. Now they have to possibly take the road of reconciliation when voters in Massachusetts, Virginia, Delaware have shown that they are not in favor of the Obama agenda. Whether or not this was a referendum on Barack Obama's personal politics, it was a referendum on the direction that Washington is currently headed in. And
Oh, no kidding.
Scott Brown ran on
There
this
is no way to interpret that any other way.
Well, if you're Howard Dean, there is. Because
Yes.
Howard Dean went on Chris Matthews' show on Hardball and said the reason Scott Brown won is because because the Democrats have not moved fast enough and have not been progressive enough. To summarize what he said, this is completely inaccurate. And when Chris Matthews took him to task for it, he said, "Are you kidding me? The guy ran as the 41st vote against the current health care plan and as an independent voice for the people's seat of Massachusetts against what is currently happening in Washington." Howard Dean said, and I don't have the direct quote here, so, oh no, I do. I go, here's, Chris Matthews asked, why didn't they vote for the candidate for the public option? Dean's response, they want real change. Well, I'd like to thank you, Howard Dean, for enumerating that for all of us. We do want real change. We want to change from what you're doing right now. Another thing Howard Dean did that was really stupid was he blamed the loss of the Massachusetts Senate seat on George W. Bush.
I know, this is...
Who else are you going to blame?
Well,
You
yeah,
just don't
They could-
get it.
How
But
about
a few
Herbert
moments-
Walker?
Yeah.
They could blame him
Herbert,
because he had George.
Let's blame Ronald Reagan while we're at
And
it.
a few moments later,
And Gerald Ford.
yeah,
And Nixon.
And let's just keep going back to all
Hard
this. But a few moments later, he said, and I quote, "People who blame others are losers." Now,
Who
on
said
this,
that?
Howard Dean. On this point,
His
I have
other voice
to,
came out of his head.
On this point, I have to agree with Howard Dean. He was being reasonable when he blamed George W. Bush for the loss of the Massachusetts Senate seat. He was, in fact, just being a sore loser.
I can't believe they actually tried to put the spin on this thing.
Well,
When it's so
first
patently obvious why the people of Massachusetts voted for Scott Brown. And Rachel Maddow did the same thing. The problem was we didn't go far enough, we didn't go fast enough. And you're sitting there going, how is it possible that a person of such obvious intelligence can't read the handwriting on the wall? If you hit them across the head with a board, it wouldn't register.
I refer to
At least Matthews, though, got it by the next day.
Right, yeah, and I refer to the
He just
comment
needed to
that-
sleep on it.
And I use this, you could say the same thing about conservatives to be reasonable in my argument. Liberals are liberals first. They don't need to intellectualize something if they believe it hard enough. Keith Olbermann declared that Scott Brown was a reactionary. What does that make Ron Paul, an anarchist?
Look, it's all smoke. It's all smoke and mirrors.
It
It's
is.
all camouflage.
It is.
Look, there's only two fundamental principles of government in effect. You either have absolutism or you have limitations.
Right.
It's one or the other. It's the social contract or it's divine right. The problem with Democrats is they're kind of leaning towards that divine right idea.
Well,
They sure would solve a lot of problems
divine
for
left,
them.
if you ask them.
The divine left, yeah.
That, there's a lot of stones.
The laws
being-
of physics.
A lot of stones being thrown from the left right now. Why this happened? Why that happened? This was a special election in Massachusetts, taking the seat of the late great Ted Kennedy,
Sure.
Right.
who was
The liberal line of the Senate.
who was the champion of this health care bill.
Yeah.
What I want to hear is after November of this year, 2010, the midterm elections, when a lot of these races that are really, really tight in other areas of the country, when the right really has an opportunity to win a lot of, what are their excuses going to be then? I mean, we had three kind of long shot races in a row, boom, 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 and they had all the excuses. There's no excuse.
Yeah, they lost them all.
You know,
The only one they won was against Doug Hoffman, the Conservative Party candidate in upstate New York, and they barely won that one.
but
I
the
mean-
problem
Yeah, but that's
is
because that woman pulled out that
But
race.
the problem
and
is
stuff like that.
the Republicans cannot just go on cruise control.
No, they cannot. They
And I
cannot.
don't-
Which
That's
is like,
how they lost power to begin with.
It's like, okay, we
They were
won this.
Democrat-like.
We're all we got to do is be a Republican, and we're going to slide right in.
And as
No,
a
they
back-
have to contribute. They have to
Right.
offer.
They smelled blood in the water. I think they smelled.
Well, they have
Yeah,
to.
Yeah,
but they-
Dickie's right though.
But they have to offer up good alternatives,
That's true.
sound alternatives that people can support.
I just think they have to polarize
You can't
themselves
just
against
be a
what's happening.
Republican and get elected.
Right, you can't, but at the same time, with what's going on, because the political left has had so much power in Washington, and because of what they're trying to accomplish, you can actually just try to be the party that slows down the machine. Scott Brown was the candidate that slowed down the machine, and it got him elected. Now, any idiot who doesn't believe that this wasn't a referendum on health care didn't hear people chanting 41 at the acceptance. But that's our political segment for right now. I'm Percy Hugo, political director, the voice of the cutting edge. We'll be back at ColbertRadio.com live.
We'll be back with our conclusion.